Hello, you're watching Proactive London. I'm joined by Mark Bishop-Lafleche, the CEO of Ecora Resources. Mark, good morning. And news to start the week, you've made your first investment in rare earths. Tell us about the deal.
Yeah, well, great to be here. Earlier today, we announced an $8.5 million investment for a 0.85% gross revenue royalty. That's over the Phalaborwa project located in South Africa and majority owned by Rainbow Rare Earths. We've also subscribed for 1.5 million shares in Rainbow Rare Earths, as I mentioned, the operator of the project. And for us, from our perspective, we're really delighted to announce this acquisition. We've spent a lot of time looking at the rare earth space. And from our perspective, this is one of the, if not the best rare earths development project globally. It ticks all the boxes for us. It's low cost, high margin, and thus should be generating strong cash flows through commodity price cycles. And it's also a very attractive entry point to get our first rare earth exposure. Rare earths are currently trading at near 3-year lows. So it's a great time to step into this commodity, and we're delighted to further round out our basket to include this exposure.
Yeah, as you mentioned, this is your first rare earths transaction, Mark. Why rare earths?
Well, as we've discussed in the past, and as I mentioned just now, our strategy is to build our portfolio and focus our portfolio on industrial commodities where we see strong long-term demand growth from as a result of the energy transition. And rare earths absolutely fit into that category, and in fact have been on our target list for quite some time now. The basket at the Phalaborwa project, and by that I mean the weighting towards rare earth elements, is largely to materials required for the production of permanent magnets. And these permanent magnets are expected to see very strong long-term demand growth as a result of wind power, renewable energy generation, as well as EV motors, amongst other end market applications. So in other words, it's the product mix here from this specific project is really strongly aligned to end markets that are expected to see commodity demand growth as a structural trend for over the next multiple decades.
What's the status of the Phalaborwa project, Mark?
Well, the project today is quite advanced. The proceeds of our royalty and equity transaction will be used to complete a definitive feasibility study, and that's expected to be released in the first half of next year. And the next step from there would be to for the Rainbow board to make a positive final investment decision and targeting first production in 2027. The project is quite unique, though, because this project is not a mine. This project contemplates reprocessing of existing stacks that are a byproduct of historically producing a fertilizer product. So that means that there's no mining, there's no crushing, there's no grinding, substantially reduces capital costs required to bring the project into production, but furthermore, substantially reduces operating costs, all the while really enhancing the project's sustainability credentials.
And can you take us through the capital costs associated with the project, Mark?
So as a royalty company, we don't contribute directly to the capital costs of the project. But as I mentioned just now, it's very low in its relative capital intensity compared to many of the rare earth projects around the world. And based on Rainbow's latest assessment, capital cost is approximately $295 million. Rainbow has not only a really strong management team, but they also have some great partners. Indirectly, one of their shareholders, TechMet, has entered into an agreement to part fund the construction of the project. The TechMet has the option or the right to invest $50 million at the time of construction. And that's really that capital is coming indirectly from the US DFC. So in other words, the US government. So there's a really strong partnership and group in place, and we're delighted to be now part of that framework.
Why did you choose to also make a $1.5 million investment in Rainbow itself, Mark?
I think it was driven by the overall opportunity presented to us here. We, in our assessment, believe that Rainbow shares are trading at a really attractive valuation. Research analysts suggest Rainbow shares are trading just under 0.3 times price to net asset value. And on that basis, not only could we benefit from the royalty when it comes into first production, but we could benefit from a stock re-rate potential. So it's a great way to blend a royalty investment, but also to capture some of the upside that exists in the shares today.
And Mark, can you take us through what else is happening in your portfolio?
Yeah, so we could spend a long time on this question, but I'll keep it to 3 points. I think the first is Voisey's Bay. I think we've been talking about the Voisey's Bay ramp up for quite some time, and we've seen a substantial increase already this year in volumes from the underground. Vale Base Metals released some further guidance on the ramp up profile from that asset. So we should see a very steep ramp up curve in 2025 and 2026. Should be fantastic and further create income sources over the next couple of years. And then beyond that, in our near-term development portfolio, there are really 2 key milestones to focus on. The first is an updated feasibility study expected to be released imminently by Capstone Copper in relation to the Santo Domingo project. That royalty has the potential to generate today's copper prices in excess of $30 million per year. So that's one we're watching very carefully. Capstone have mentioned and have reaffirmed a target final investment date for that project next year. So that's something we anticipate Capstone will further comment on at the time of the feasibility study. That's certainly somewhat a second thing to watch. And then the third thing to watch, further guidance from BHP in relation to the West Musgrave project. That project is currently in construction, although BHP has indicated they may look to slow it down. So further information on the timing and thus first income to Ecora expected when BHP releases full year results in August. So some really big milestones for our portfolio, all in the next couple of months.
Well, Mark, I hope you'll keep us posted on any new developments. Thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Mark Bishop Lafleche, the CEO of Ecora Resources.